Hey guys, Marsinged here, bringing on Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so I mentioned in the earlier video I did today about the data download on Global that we finally have the buff for physical Rosé on Global. The Global first that needed to release on JP in order to be fixed. But we have it, and we have it now, so we can test it out in game. I'm very happy about this. As I said in that earlier video, I've always liked Rosé. I think he gets underrated. I'm looking forward to using him in all the anniversary content. So obviously I wanted him to have his buff. So the buff, for those of you who don't know, if you didn't see the video earlier, we have an extra line in his passive, which is down around here now. Launches an additional super attack every time the character attacks 10 or more times in battle, up to once within a turn. Now the reason why this is good is, remember, with Rosé's passive, every single time he attacks, whether it's a normal attack or a super attack, he gets an extra 30% attack and defense. And that does not have a limit. So regardless of however many times he attacks in a turn, he gets 30% attack and defense that many times. And that just keeps adding up and up and up. And if any of those are super attacks, his super attack effect is that he raises attack and defense for one turn. So effectively getting 60% raise from that attack, because he's getting 30 from his passive and 30 from the actual super attack effect. So that means if this guy, the more he attacks in one turn, then obviously the better he is. So him now having an ability to do an extra attack guaranteed is going to be very nice, because it all adds up. So it's every time he attacks 10 times. So if he attacks 5 times in the first turn, and then he attacks 5 times in the second turn, he gets that guaranteed extra attack on that second turn, because he's now attacked 10 times. But he also has, as the part of his passive that was there before, is that every time he attacks 5 times, he gets an extra attack. So when you do the 5th attack, you get the 6th attack guaranteed, and now you've attacked 6 times. And then you only need to do 4 more, then you've got the 10th attack of the turn overall. So he does the additional super, but then he's attacked 5 times in that turn. So you can see how this all can, on the right turns for him, this can go kind of crazy. And it does often rely on, I guess it's kind of based sometimes on the number of times you attacked on the previous turn. So typically on the first rotation, he's sealed, because of course he is. I should have bought the, Senzu beans for this showcase, shouldn't I? Specifically because of all of the status effects in this event, because we're doing the Majin Buu absorption red zone stage, because it's one of the longer stages, so we have more opportunities to actually see Rosé do some things. And especially like with this rotation, right, where we can have him with Kid Buu, where we have a lot of our a few of our decent links active with Zamasu, and of course big bad bosses. I mean, Zamasu has it anyway, but Zamasu and Kid Buu having big bad bosses, so you can see Zamasu already reaping the benefits of this rotation with the Kid Buu support. And then Rosé, we're only able to get 1 rainbow orb, and of course we can't do any super attacks here. So we've done what, 3, 4, okay, so 4 attacks. That is actually kind of perfect, because on the next turn we'll be doing his 5th attack of the battle, which will mean we'll get a guaranteed additional super anyway. Then, of course, we're going to be doing all the other attacks for the turn, so we're almost certainly going to get up to doing 10 attacks on that turn. So we are going to be looking good here. I'm going to float off you. You can only really float the Super Saiyan 3 Rosé. Actually, no, I can't, can I? You can only float Super Saiyan 3 Rosé if he's on turn 1. Because if we float him now, he comes back on turn 5 and transforms straight away, which is not what I want. I also can't get a super attack for him, so I should have done the orbs differently for Fat Buu. Because Fat Buu, I'm not too worried. He can't get a super anyway, because he's sealed. So I should have ignored the orbs for him and just let Int Buu take the heat here. Because physical Rosé, of course, only has a chance to guard because we don't have the crossover allies. But we did get it, so tanks the normals for double-digit damage. I'm still a huge proponent of that Super Saiyan 3 Rosé. I've been banging on about it since we found out about the anniversary content when it came out on JP in February. But you guys are going to see, those of you who pulled Super Saiyan 3 Rosé, as the Heroes team in general starts to age a little bit with some of the anniversary content, Rosé, Super Saiyan 3 Rosé is going to be very, very good with his buffs against Goku enemies and Super Saiyan Blue enemies, of which there are many from the anniversary content. So go ahead and do this. Now we can get 2 rainbow orbs. And then we have our attacks from the previous turn. So we've got Dismal Future, Nightmare, Fierce Battle, Fear and Faith, and Big Bad Bosses. I think we're getting, is it Fear and Faith from you? Yeah, nice. So Fear and Faith is another, oh, it's just 2 key. And debuffing the enemy's defense, which we can't do anyway. So never mind, I guess. But it's not going to affect his damage, but we'll go ahead and see how much we're actually going to be able to get out of this Rosé now that we're going to get a lot of attacks this turn. Because like I say, his first attack of this turn is going to be his 5th attack of the battle. So being sealed in the first turn probably kind of worked out well for him in order to buff him ready for this turn. But we'll see how we get on here. Zamasu not doing too many supers, so he can't go too crazy. And then he'll eat this super from Bootanks here. And then we'll see what Rosé can do. So obviously RNG, when the rainbow orbs on is in his base, you're only going to be getting additional normals. But him doing all of these attacks is of course beneficial to building up that passive and getting all the guaranteed additional super attacks. So there's the first additional super, and we're up to 4.1 mil. Mine is 2 dupes, by the way. I don't know if it showed at the beginning when I was in the menu screen, but 79%, level 10 links. So that's the 3rd attack of the turn. Now we get a 4th. Those will be the 2 normals from the rainbow orbs. Now we get a guaranteed additional super at 7.3. We should be getting at least 1 more guaranteed, I think. And then we have the potential for the hidden potential as well. So I think that is the hidden potential just being a normal. And then we get the 10 attacks one, I think. So now he's at 9.7. But bear in mind, every single one of these attacks, he's getting 30% attack and defense, and then every one that's a super, he's getting an extra 30% attack and defense. So on the turns where he's attacking like 6 or 7 times in total, he has well over 2 million defense, and in base, he has 30% damage reduction, which means he's tanking most super attacks in the game. Obviously, the big one that people like to point out is the blue Gogeta from the big event from the anniversary. But of course, he is the hardest hitting STR boss in the game. So not really surprising that he can catch out physical Rosé with a super. He does have the really hard hitting AoEs as well. Rosé does have 60% damage reduction before attacking, but his start of turn defense is not particularly great. I think that's the one thing about his design that I think is very strange. If he was going to have damage reduction before attacking and then lose a significant amount of it, but trade it in for jumping up to a really high amount of raw defense, I think his damage reduction before attacking should have been like 90% or something, so you can actually put him in slot 1. Because some of the teams that he can be on would really benefit from having another really strong slot 1 unit. I think that is one of, like I say, I think he's underrated, but I definitely don't think he's a perfectly designed unit that has no flaws or anything like that. And yeah, I think him having better start of turn defense or having higher damage reduction before he loses that little bit, I think would be significantly better. So I think we'll save the domain for now, I think, because on the next turn we're going to have the rotation where we get the Super Saiyan 3 Rosé as well. So we can go ahead here and just grab these, and then physical Rosé should be able to just finish off the phase here depending how many attacks he gets. Remember that attack counter thing obviously does reset, right? So on the last turn we got up to 10 attacks. Then if there is the potential that the one after that was like a new one of a new count, but then we have to get back up to 10 in order to get that guaranteed additional. So he's still going to be a unit where, depending on the number of rainbow orbs you get, depending on like the hidden potential proccing and stuff like that, he's going to be doing a varying different amount of attacks during each turn. But there, I think we ended up with the rainbow orbs only being normals. I think we got the hidden potential only as a normal as well. But then his attack counter was up to 5, so we got a guaranteed additional super. So, like I say, those are the turns where sometimes he's just going to get a bunch of normals. If we transformed him, obviously once he activates his domain and transforms, he creates rainbow orbs, and then obviously does a little bit more damage as well. He gets extra, I think it's 33% with each attack instead of just 30. But the major difference, which is kind of a double-edged sword with using his active skill, is that he loses all of his damage reduction after he attacks. Now, against certain enemies, again, if you've gotten a really good orb change and you've picked up a ton of rainbow orbs, he's going to do so many attacks that it's not really going to matter that he's lost the damage reduction. But obviously there will be some instances where that can come back to bite you. So you do have to be careful with how you use him. I think that's another thing people don't like, is he can be inconsistent, and he's not one of these kind of characters where it's like, well, you transform, you use his buff, and then you just like win because he becomes crazy powerful. Like, he still has the possibility of getting caught, but on those turns where he is transformed, you're able to see potentially some crazy numbers and stuff out of him. So I want to use his domain on his next appearance, because then we're going to have Super Saiyan 3 Rosé there for the extra links, because then the turn after that we'll have physical Kid Buu in slot 3 as well. So we have the potential to see 2 very good turns from him starting from this next turn once we've used the domain, and then we don't have to worry about the because the next stage against the physical the physical Buu tanks, he has the ability to lock units in place, and since I didn't bring Senzu beams with me, that has the potential for messing up the rotations quite a bit. So we want to try and make sure we get these guys together while we can. So fortunately the first 2 phases are the ones that have the most HP, so we do kind of get a bit of a chance to mess around in these phases a little bit. Buhan with the guaranteed guard, because we started the turn below a certain amount of HP, always very, very helpful for him having that. And then we get hit from Kid Buu, another buff for his damage reduction. I think that was his 4th hit, right? So he's fully built up now. And then we get the Super Saiyan 3 Rosé transformation to full power. And then that, of course, allows us... Now, it'd be interesting to see how well he would actually tank in slot 1. But we're going to go ahead and use the domain / transformation for physical Rosé. That, of course, is going to buff physical Rosé and Zamasu. Doesn't buff Super Saiyan 3 Rosé, unfortunately, because it is only for super bosses characters. But that is useful for some of the enemies that you're going to fight, because he only buffs super bosses enemies. Whereas characters that have the domains that are straight up just a buff to, like, extreme, for example, will buff the extreme enemies that you're fighting. Whereas Rosé's obviously does not. So, oh, that's cool. They added in the... I've not seen that come up yet, actually, since the last update. So, if you're in slot 1, you have 300k defense. That's not crazy. I kind of want to see... Well, we're here to see what Rosé can do, so for the sake of this rotation, I don't want Zamasu eating like a massive super in slot 1, so I'm going to go ahead and do this, and then we can get 2... Can still only get 2. Unfortunately, with the rainbow orbs have fallen. It's not the craziest, so we can get 2 rainbow orbs there for you. We've got every single link active, and yeah, we'll just grab... I guess it's typical we end up with 3 rainbow orbs in the slot 3 position, but I guess it is what it is. Okay, he did super in slot 1, so because yeah, as Zamasu's damage reduction starts to wear off, his ability to tank supers in slot 1 is a bit awkward. One of the things I'm really hoping for the domain update, because we still don't know exactly what it's going to be, I think it's a bit too wishful thinking to expect that it's going to be they're all going to stack on top of each other, which, I mean, that would be awesome, because that would actually probably make some of the villain builds the best teams in the game if you could just stack multiple domains on top of each other. Like, imagine having Broly's, Rosé's and Zamasu's all active on a super bosses team. So what I'm hoping it will be is the fact that you can transform another character and their domain will override the current one, but they'll still keep their transformation. So for example, at the start of the turn, we could have used the infinite Zamasu, then use Rosé. Zamasu stays as infinite Zamasu, but now we have transformed Rosé and his domain is the one that's active. That's what I'm hoping is going to be the update. But I mean, we see Rosé able to do a few super attacks. I mean, again, this is, as much as I want him to look super awesome in this showcase, because it's like, yeah, look, he got his buff, he's super good now. You guys were wrong about him. I mean, he's been buffed, so obviously slightly better than he was before, but you are still going to get these turns. And again, as I've said in this video, I think that's one of the main reasons why people don't like him, is the inconsistency. Even with him being an orb changer on this turn, we obviously had the you know, the possibility that he's not going to get a lot of rainbow orbs and therefore not be able to get loads of attacks, and that just is what it is, unfortunately. So I'm going to go ahead and transform Buhan. I always make the mistake of not transforming him early enough in these runs, because the last couple of stages go by really fast. I want to try and keep as many rainbow orbs on the field as I can, so then when we get the orb change at the beginning of the next rotation, we can hopefully get a decent set of orbs for physical Rosé. Although I think actually there is a pretty high possibility that we just kill this phase, and I can almost guarantee we're going to start the next turn, aren't we, against the physical Buhan, and he's going to give me the worst possible rotation locking for having a good rotation with physical Rosé. I can feel it. We'll see. Yeah, Buhan at 12.2, and then he's going to do some additionals, and then Zamasu's in slot 3. So I think we probably are going to be finishing this off here. Buhan, of course, not getting buffed by the domain either, because he's not a super boss character. But, I mean, still able to look pretty good here. If he doesn't crit, then obviously he's not going to do crazy damage, because he's got type disadvantage. The other downside, of course, is if we don't kill him this turn, we're going to get this turn with the Kid Buu and like the mega buff, like all this support and all the links and everything. But the enemy's not going to have enough HP to survive the number of attacks that Rosé could potentially do. So realistically, we really need Zamasu to be able to kill here. Which, I mean, both the Zamasus have been hit a fair few times, and we've got the super boss's buff up. Yeah, 17.4. It just all depends whether he's going to do some additionals here, which he did not do any. So, okay. Alright, so I guess we just put Rosé in slot 1 and see what he can do. He doesn't get any extra links, yeah, from being next to Kid Buu. And we can get 3 rainbow orbs. Yeah, it's only ever going to be 3. So we can get 3 rainbow orbs of him here. I don't know why that didn't get the blue ones, but never mind. It's not like we desperately need the HP. I don't know how I managed to do that, but he's going to be dead before the end of the turn anyway. Right, so we start off with Kid Buu on rotation. We start off at 4.9. I think that's the other thing as well. Like, people love to see big numbers. So when you see Rosé's first super attack of the turn is only at like 5 mil, people are like, oh. But then immediately, this is the point of the buff, right? Buff on attack and buff on super. He went from 5 mil to 7 mil. Then we get another attack here that is a normal. Then another normal, so we've now got another 60% buff, another 30% buff. Now we get another super, and we're up to 15 mil. So we went from 5 to 7 to 15. And then I think, if depending how many times we've attacked, yeah, there's another one after this one as well. So now we're at 18.2. And I'm fairly sure if he wasn't going to die here, it might just be the hidden potential chance, but I'm fairly sure we have another one coming after that as well. And that's obviously largely in part due to the buff, because now we're getting that extra attack. So that's the thing that for me, I've always wanted to look at, like, I like to think of and look at the unit overall as a whole. So for me, the fact that for his first super attack of the turn isn't that crazy high of a number, that doesn't bother me, when he's then dropping like a 15 million into an 18 million and then potentially another one after that. And then, as I said, his defense is like over 2 million at that point. Which now, to be fair, as I mentioned, in his transformed state, he loses all of his damage reduction. So if he gets super attacked by a boss that does like 3 million damage and he has 2 million defense, well, then you die because you take 1 million damage. But with everything else that he's doing, the domain buffs the rest of the super boss's allies. He's able to put out a lot of damage. You know, but him dying only to some of the hardest hitting supers in the game is fine, right? Because even with 2 million defense, if you're on full health with this team, we have 642k HP. If he gets hit by a 2.5 million super attack, he takes 500k, which is a large chunk of damage, but we don't die. And then, especially with this team build, we have like this rotation on the next turn where I'm running the 2 Buus together, where we get a ton of healing. If we start the turn on really low HP, we can get the Int Buu revive. So yeah, I really like Rosé. I really like this team build for him. I've never been a huge fan of his team with the super bosses and corroded body in mind, which again, I think there's a lot of these little pieces that come together for why I think people don't like him so much. And it's kind of one of the reasons why people, I think, were a bit down on Broly when he came out for the anniversary, is people look at his leader skill and it's like, oh, his team sucks. And it's like, it kind of does, especially for global, like pre-anniversary buffs. But this is probably his best team, like running him with Zamasu's and like some of these other characters. And now with the worldwide celebration buffs, when Zamasu's team is as good as it is, I think he becomes really, really good. So let's see, which of these Zamasu's is more built up? There's not really anything in it, to be fair. So let's go ahead and transform you. We can't really get any rainbow orbs here. Well, there's one there, but I don't want to take it in case we're not able to get any more. So I guess we could do that. Because that gives everyone a defense buff as well anyway. So, and then, oh, look at that. We can get 3 rainbow orbs with you. So back to base. So obviously we're not going to be doing as much damage now. But we are still going to be getting the... I won't hit the nodes here so we don't do too much damage. Actually, the Zamasu domain doesn't actually do anything here, does it? It just debuffs super enemies. Super enemies and allies take more damage, I think, right, is Zamasu's one. So in this event, it's not going to do a huge amount. That's why I'm hoping the domain update works, like I said, right? Because you want to get the infinite Zamasu transformation, so you can have an infinite, like an invincible tank. But his domain is not useful in certain events against, like, extreme enemies. So ideally, you'll be able to use this, get infinite Zamasu, then use Rosé's, then his domain is active, but both of them are transformed. That's how I'm hoping it works, right? Because some of them do get extra buffs. Like in their transformation, it will actually say, I think Broly's one might be like this, where it says, like, I think Future Gohan's is as well, but where it says, like, when this domain is active, they get some kind of extra ability. So obviously you'd be losing out on that because you're changing the domain that's active, but they're still transformed, so they're still getting all the buffs and everything that they get from being in the transformed state. So that's how I'm hoping that will work, but I guess we will have to see, cross that bridge when it comes to it. But you see Rosé getting all these attacks off. We're off to 10 million here. I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say, like, I know this isn't the hardest event in the game, and of course, physical Rosé does get hard countered by Kid Buu, because all of his supers are unarmed attacks, but I think it's fairly safe to say from this showcase, like, even if you were not super impressed by physical Rosé on his release, I think it's hard to say that he's a bad unit, right? I would still say in global, in terms of TURs, I would put him in the top 10. He may be towards the bottom of that list. I think he's definitely in the bottom half. But yeah, I do think he is very good, very underrated. So let me know what you guys think of Rosé down below in the comment section. What do you think of his buff? It took a little bit longer to come out on global, but at least it didn't take too long. And now we finally have it. So let me know your thoughts on him down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store. And I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.